What's cracking?
One day I
What's
gotta go and
cracking?
stand up and really like let it go, let it go,
Mm.
let it go.
Yeah, because let's see how you hold it back. Not. Happy
Hey
Wednesday,
everyone,
everybody.
happy beautiful friggin' Wednesday. Oh my gosh. Hello, Instagram. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. Everybody out there. So glad to have you with us. And Instagram, I always got to start off by saying, and I may say it every once in a while, I can't wave at you, but no, we're waving in our hearts because you're sitting behind me right now. You don't want me to be looking back on. Let me hit the wave. Here, let me hit a couple of people. See, that's what it looks like.
Don't do that. Then don't do that.
Yeah, don't do
Whatever
that.
that was,
Don't
don't
do that.
do it.
I'm not going to do that. Hey,
Hilarious.
everybody. How you
So, how was
doing,
your week?
Willie? Willie?
I can still hear the guest in my ear. You want to mute for just a second or not? What's going on? Can
Oh,
they
okay.
hear him?
He
Because
he
I
he,
want
he
him to
can't
be as
he can't he can't help himself. You talk, Phil. Let me hear you talk. Yeah.
has.
Okay. So we'll just say, Hilliard, don't laugh.
Impossible. Anyway, how's the week? How was the week? How's it going? It's Wednesday, middle of the week, hump day.
The week
Man,
is
what
going
a
real good, man. The week is going
what a
good.
day.
We're in our third day of rehearsals. And
Ooh,
so I'm
that's
just
right.
like, woo, the press is on fire about the show. And I'm going to have some flyers and stuff. You know, I'm going to post early and I'm going to have a show with my cast and the writer and maybe the producers because you really need to know about the Greenway Court Theater. And I'll tell you, a lot of people do know about the theater, but it is a beautiful theater on Fairfax Avenue between Melrose and Beverly. And when you come, you know, it's a small theater that's still working with equity, but inside it's so big. The stage
Hmm.
is big, the space is big. And I learned today that the students 25 years ago from Fairfax High built the structure, built the theater, took them 3 years. And that's just
Wow.
awesome. And it just makes me think about, you guys, hey, everybody over there. Just makes me really think about
Oh,
what can be done and what can be sustained. Not only
when you
for
put
your
your mind to it,
when you put your mind to it and helping
you
kids,
know,
those
and that
kids
creative
remember
force,
that.
well, the kids will help themselves. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
Hmm.
Don't say you can't until you try,
Come on,
right? I
come
mean,
on.
that's beautiful. I had no idea that they did that.
I didn't either. I learned about it yesterday. It's just wonderful. And just what you say, baby, don't say you can't until you put your
Until
foot
you
in. And then when you
try.
fail
Come
the first
on.
time, you just keep going. You just keep going. That's what our guest talks about. That's
That
why
ain't failure. That's just experience.
it's experience. That's why the name of our episode is Can't Stop, Won't Stop.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
his motto.
Well, we're gonna jump. We're not gonna. We're
You
gonna
want
jump
to talk
into our
about the
guest in a
week?
minute. But I got news. I just got news. I got
Okay,
news. I
what's
told
the
you I had
news?
news.
Phil's,
And I'm
wait a minute.
drinking. So
News from Phil Morris. Go ahead,
that's so special. I feel special now. Um, my daughter got engaged today. Ah, what? I'm set.
uh oh, yeah,
I'm just saying.
and look what
I'm just
happened.
saying.
Oh,
Well, that's what should have happened.
mm, mm.
That's what should have happened. Let me get back on the thing
And
here.
he's such
Let me
a
get back.
nice
Look at
guy.
that.
Kevin is such a
We
nice
love him. A guy named
guy.
Kevin Hodge, by way of Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, San Diego. Just a lovely cat. They went to. That's how old I am. He's a lovely cat, man. They went to Hawaii, and he popped it on her there. I had seen the ring. He gave me a little, preview of the ring. Legit, legit. And so they're thrilled. They've been together for a minute, and she was so happy to be with him, and he with her, and they're really a beautiful couple together. So cute, and they were so excited today, and so that happened, and I had,
Oh,
so I'm giving them a little drinky poo for them. It's a
that's
little
right.
celebratory thing, and I finished the script last night. Me writing the script. I finished the script yesterday.
And
I
how
mean, I finished it.
auspicious that our guest is who he
Yes.
is.
Hmm. Had to drink to that. Yeah, because and we'll talk to him too, because I really want to
Oh.
get his thoughts. But completion is massive. So
Mm-hmm.
many people have ideas, whether it's a script or a book or a story, and they have these wonderful chats with themselves and others about, I want to do this and I want to put this in it and I want to do that, and they never get around to it, or they start it but they never finish it. And I've
Mm.
certainly been accused of that type of behavior, and I was determined. I wasn't even determined. It just kind of happened upon me. I was writing some scenes for this project that I want to do, and I was writing them basically as an exercise. And then it just took me, and it started to tell me what it wanted to be.
That's
And
right.
so I'm listening to it, and it's talking to me, and I'm writing. And yesterday, I'm at page 45, 46. And I'm like, that's this is a streaming show right now. I just wrote the pilot. And I got to the end of what I considered the ending of the pilot to be. And I just finished. I wrote end of pilot and started crying because it was like I did it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I did it.
yes, I do.
And it may be I don't know what it is. I really don't. I just know I have it.
Oh,
And I
this
know
is
now that
something
I can.
different. Something new?
Uh, New what? I haven't mentioned anything about it here, so I don't know
Okay.
if it's new or not. It's new for everybody here, but yes, it's the thing that you know about.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah, I finished writing this script, and we'll talk about it. But
Yeah.
I was just really thrilled. So that was a really big day, and my family's going through some other stuff, and today was a really good day for those things as well. So all in all, it was just a hell of a day. So very happy, very grateful,
Oh, I'm
very grateful.
so happy for you, Phil. You hit on a
Thank
couple of
you.
things we're going to talk about completion, just getting started, and whatever it is that you want to do. That's right. You can do it. Wait a minute. Let me pull some stuff over. I've been listening to you. I haven't pulled anything over. You can do it, Phil. That's right.
Mm.
And he didn't only you can do it, he did it, you guys.
No, but you guys are the wind beneath our wings and whatnot, and hopefully same for us. We all need champions and a village and people who believe in you, who can go, yeah, keep going, keep going. Real quick before, because we got to get Hilliard in here, but
Oh, yes.
I was running this celebrity 5K. This was years ago, and I wasn't really working out a lot. I was doing the soap at the time, so I was working a lot at long hours, and I wasn't really training at all. But I got this celebrity 5K, and we're doing it for NBC Studios. And I'm running, man. I'm doing this 5K. I got to about 3K, and I'm walking. I'm walking. And this little dude runs by me. He must have been 12 years old, going, suck it up, dude. Suck it up, dude. I'll never forget it. It was one of the greatest lessons of my life. Out of all the trainers and teachers and mentors that I've had, this little kid saying, suck it up, was it
That's
was exactly what
hilarious.
I needed. And I finished that. Boy, sucker, boy, I was gassed at the end of it, but I finished it, and he was there. We high fived, and I'd never met this little kid in my life, but it was great. So everybody who's out there who's like, you're petering out on whatever you're doing, and you can't quite get it together, suck it up, dude.
That is perfect. Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
On so many things we're talking about, you're so hilarious. I'm so glad. Hilliard is so good because he hasn't giggled once. And I know he's over there going like this.
Thank you, Hilliard. I
We
appreciate
love
you.
Hilliard. So without further
Oh.
ado, you guys, let me introduce you to a man who I walked up to because I'd seen him speak somewhere. And I was at the Pasadena Playhouse seeing Top Dog Underdog, which was a magnificent play. I saw
Brilliant show.
him. I walked right up to him and I said, "Hey, I love what you had to say at this event where I was. I don't even remember where it was that I've wanted to meet you. And since then, we've become good friends. And I'd like for you to introduce you to my friend, now introduced to my brother, his friend, Hilliard Guess."
Well,
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. That's one hell of an intro, Hilliard.
Hooty hoo!
Great,
Look at
man.
that.
That's how you got the card in there too.
Yes,
Nice.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I knew I had to
Glad
Thanks
put
to
for
that
be
in there
being
when
on.
I
honest,
saw that
brother.
car. I was like, "Ooh, Phil's gonna love this."
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite shows. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Indeed. Thank you
So
guys for having me. Appreciate it.
so glad to have you here, Hilliard. You are just your credits are wonderful, and more than anything, you as a human being, you're just what you have to say that's so inspiring to help other people manifest their visions, and for you to be here on the day after Phil finishes a script he's written is like
Love it.
Crazy.
so awesome.
Crazy.
So, before we get into all that, Hilliard, I was reading on your bio, and
Uh-oh.
you said something about now. Where is this? You were a cool nerd from
Cool nerd.
Detroit to Oakland. So tell us
To
about it.
East Palo Alto.
Oh, East Palo Alto.
East
Okay.
Palo
Oh,
Alto.
Yes,
That's a little
indeed. Get
different.
it straight. Get it straight now.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar
East Palo
though.
Alto. Palo Alto is where Stanford is, right?
Exactly, but
No,
on the
Palo.
east side. Don't get it twisted now. Don't get it
I'm
twisted.
not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm just, I'm just trying to get people who understand Palo Alto to understand Palo Alto. That's all.
Yeah. Well, put it this way. I always use the example like this. I always say I'm from, the Bay, from East Palo Alto, Menlo. But I always say, you ever see the movie Dangerous Minds? That was the
Yep.
mm,
neighborhood where my school was at. So if you picture that, you feel me? That's where it was.
That's where
You
you.
know.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't.
Well,
It was like growing up in Watts. You know what I mean? For sure.
so coming from that environment, how did you? There's so many people who say, "Oh, those kids, they're not going to amount to anything. They're not going to do anything." What was it that kept you going forward? And and by the way, we know you are not the only one who have come
Oh, I'm the
out.
only one.
Not. Oh, yeah, oh,
don't get it twisted, Iona. East Palo Alto, and yes, he's
but
the only one.
Exactly.
what was it that took you? And had you the drive that you have?
I think it's everybody from the Bay, including myself, Ben Watkins, Malcolm Spellman, a lot of those cats. A lot of us would say it's in the Bay. Like there's something about, even though I wasn't born in the Bay, I grew up in the Bay since I was 7. I was born in Detroit. We lived to Brooklyn until I was 7, and then we moved to the Bay. But I don't remember anything else, so I just claimed the Bay. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
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 Um,
Right. Right.
but there's something about the Bay, whether, it goes back, the Panthers, all that stuff. Everybody has this fight. Everybody has this desire. Everybody has this drive not to give up type of thing. You know what I mean? So I've
Mm.
always kind of had that in me. I don't know where it came from, except for everybody else seemed to be doing the same thing that I was doing. Everybody thought the same way. Everybody felt confident about them. It has definitely a confidence comes out of the Bay. You know what I mean? Like we definitely have that riding in us,
Why?
knowing
Why? Why
that.
is that? Why is that? Why do you
Well,
think
I
that
think I
is?
think I think it's a couple of things. Put it this way. So when we first moved to the Bay in '77, that's how old I am, brother. Just pretty. Shut up, Phil.
I
You know
love
we vampires, Phil. You know how we are. Uh,
My inner child loves you. Okay, go ahead.
exactly,
it.
exactly, exactly. So when I moved to the Bay, right, it was the heart of, it was like 1977. So we're coming out of the early 70s when, the Panthers were in the reign in the 60s and going into the early 70s, and it all kind of started falling apart. So literally the neighborhood and all around the Bay was full of all these like ex-Panthers or people who still believed in themselves that way. So I remember being a cat when we moved into the neighborhood. We were living in Brooklyn on like a pretty white neighborhood, right? So we were like, well, gee, Dad, we were straight out of the Brady Bunch, bro, when we moved there. We were teased like crazy. I was bullied. I mean, all that stuff. And shut up, Phil.
We're in Beverly Hills,
Seriously,
bro.
seriously.
I got
Right.
I got nothing. We're in Beverly
Right.
Hills. So keep
Welcome to
preaching.
our
Go
world.
ahead.
Exactly. So growing up, that it was a big change, but the energy in the streets was still the proudness of where we came from. Like I remember one of my first memories as a 7, 8 year old kid was walking down the street to one of my friends' houses, and they were talking about literally all the homeboys are outside smoking weed, talking about the Star Spangled Banner song with the third verse. I knew about that shit back then. You know what I mean? So it's like the things that you were taught was beyond what was going. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
It was beyond that
Right.
type of stuff because a lot of those dudes were former Panthers or former, whatever. They were
So
so
your environment
into
created the
history.
consciousness. Your environment created the
For sure.
consciousness in a way.
Yeah, for
And to
sure.
be able to tap into that must have been empowering. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, completely. Yeah,
Because
definitely.
you feel like there's kind of a tapestry of culture
Right.
and grounding that you can take forward. And whether you get that in your house, that's one thing. Whether you can actually get it in the streets, that's another thing. That's
Right.
very powerful, man. I never heard that
Right.
from East Palo Alto, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what I remember when I really stop and, you're not sure why you grew up a certain way, but as you get older, you stop and think, you take a look back, on
Right.
what your experiences were, and
Right.
you go, oh,
That's
that's what
where.
made me. You feel me? So I think that's kind of where it comes from.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I love
definitely.
that.
And what
Yeah.
were your parents? What did your parents do for a living? What was your family life like?
My so when we moved into the neighborhood, I was the only person I knew. I say this, and I'm almost embarrassed saying it, but it's a
Mm.
real truth that I remember. I remember being the only kid in my neighborhood that I knew who was my age who had his mother and father. The
Mm.
only person I knew.
Mhm.
I'm not saying there wasn't somebody, I just didn't know, right?
Mhm.
Who was my age. And we always were like the hub of the neighborhood. My family, still to this day, is like everybody talks about my mom and dad. Matter of fact, the February 5th and 6th was both of their birthdays. They're a year apart.
They're May
And
babies.
yeah, exactly,
So am I. I
exactly.
sent them a happy birthday from a May baby to
I
May
saw that.
babies. Yeah,
Thank you,
they're
thank
a
you, thank you.
beautiful couple. They were
Yeah.
sitting together holding hands, and I went,
hmm
how beautiful.
Yeah. And I remember
Mm.
being the kid in my neighborhood who had this. Here's a quick little story. This is funny. So I remember I was at a meeting. I think it was at ABC, like probably 10 years ago. And we were having this great conversation with myself and this executive. And at some point, out the blue, and you guys know this, you guys have been on interviews with execs. Sometimes they're trying to figure you out. So out the blue, my man says, "So how's your father? Tell me about your father." I think he was expecting me to tell him this story about, oh, I don't know my father and this and this. And I said, oh, he's trying to get me. But I immediately switched. I went, watch this. I went like this. And I went, well, that's really easy. I said, let me explain my father. My dad is now this is before all the Bill Cosby stuff. So I'm using this a
hmm
reference
Mm.
in,
Oh no,
in a positive way.
It's a
Let
safe
me just
we
reference.
reference
good.
that shit.
We good. You mean our
My
Uncle
dad was
Bill? Go
like,
ahead, continue.
there
Yeah.
you go, there you go. My dad was like Bill Cosby on the show. He was funny, just lighthearted. Everything about him was about family, right? And military dude, like a real man's man type of a guy. Never seen him drink, never seen him curse or anything in my entire life. And so, but here's the funny thing. So I said, let me explain my dad. If my car broke down right now in Burbank, he would drive from the Bay, come start my car and drive home. That tells you why everybody hubbed at my house for the holidays, Thanksgiving. What if they didn't have anywhere to go, right? So we became that type. My mom would make candy apples and caramel apples, and she was the candy man, the candy woman. You know what I'm saying? It was like that type of a place
Right,
where
right.
we lived in a world where everybody knew us. My sisters were beautiful. You know what I mean? So all the dudes knew who we were and gave us a pass. You know what I mean? Because of my
Mm-hmm.
sisters.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
It's
So it was
great
like it
credibility.
was
It's
like
great
that.
credibility.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense, I hope I answered your
Oh,
question.
Oh,
yes,
absolutely. No,
absolutely.
no, that because we always talk about the influences that make us who we are and shape us
Hmm.
into the
Hmm.
people that we become, and why people like us are
Right,
achievers or ambitious or move to accomplish things that aren't necessarily right in front of you, right?
right,
Who breaks that open for you? Who opens those
right,
doors? Who helps you accomplish those dreams?
right.
That's what we need. That's what we're all about. Is that why then you pay it forward in a way and are a resource for so many people because you have had so many resources accorded you?
Yeah, I'm like my dad. I think most of us got my dad's side. My mom is an interesting woman, love her to death, but she is the most selfish person in the world. She's just spoiled rotten. All of us cater to my mom. We all do. Where my dad is the type of person who helps her get out of the car. He's just like always there for her. And every one of my siblings, we all have that about ourselves. So, yes, it's probably an extension of that.
Hmm.
I'm the person who
Love
walks
that.
by and acknowledges you. You know,
Right.
I'm the person,
Right.
I see another black person, I'm, yo, what's up, my man? You know what I
What's
mean? Like I
up?
can't
What's
help it.
up?
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah,
just
you
like
know what you're
naturally. My
saying.
dad is that guy. How you doing? Well, to everybody. He don't care who they
Our
are,
mother was
but we
that.
all,
Our mother
Yeah,
was that
yeah,
person.
she's the one for us.
right.
It's
Yeah.
Okay.
reversed.
You know,
Yeah.
with our
But our
father, it
house
was
was
a
the
little
same kind
dicey
of
because
thing.
he was
Our
the celebrity guy.
Yeah, and our house was the one people would come over, talk to mom, talk to dad.
Hmm.
She was famous for her tuna fish sandwiches. They came over to eat and hang out,
Right. Right.
barbecue ribs and fried chicken, and
Hmm.
it's
It was the
so
spot, like your family, like your
Yeah.
house. It
yeah.
was the
Hmm.
spot for sure.
Right.
And we were the Cosby family before the Cosby family existed. So
Yeah.
we
They
definitely
they
relate
called
to
us the
that.
Cosby Show in the ghetto.
Wow.
They really
Wow.
did.
Wonderful.
They really did, for sure. Yeah.
So with all of that of where you go, how did you get into the entertainment business? How did
I was just
writing?
gonna ask that question. See
What
why
She
we
trying
do
to
this,
get you, Phil.
Hilliard?
She trying to get you.
She does, and I'll take it willingly.
we got
Right,
each
right.
other. What drew you?
Um, so I grew up in this neighborhood. I was part of a breakdance crew. I always could dance. I could naturally dance. Oh, I could dance my little butt off still to this day. And I remember it's the other thing that kind of saved me. It was one of those things where, you're either in the streets or you're around near the street. You're kind of
Mm,
adjacent to the streets.
Hmm,
And I
hmm,
said
hmm.
my neighborhood was like a small Watts, if you think about it, back in the day when it was really bad. But I remember learning this years later, I think in the late 80s, that our neighborhood actually was like the number three most dangerous place to live in America. I didn't even know that, and
Hmm.
we moved into there from this white neighborhood. You know what I mean? So it was a
mm,
big adjustment for sure. But I have no regrets of it. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. It gave me street smarts. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, so me and my homeboys used to go down to we call the white side, which is the Stanford side, and we'd break dance on the corners for money. I swear to God, this is real shit. Excuse me for cursing too much. I'll be
No,
careful.
shit is good.
This,
We
you
love
better
shit. We love
not
good shit.
curse
uh,
on our god dang show. Shoot.
You see how she backed off of that? She got worried about the
I
lightning bolt,
did.
bro.
I
She
did.
worried about
See,
it.
look. Mm-hmm. Cast you down.
Yes, blasphemer. Anyway,
The power of Christ compels you. Look. That's too
I'm
young
loving
for
this interview.
you, Phil. You're too young for that one. You're too
Yeah,
young for
no, I don't know. What does that mean?
that.
Like, anyway,
But
so
Wait,
you
we
wait,
break
used
what
to
does
go
that?
that
down.
even mean?
Did
You're
you
too
bust out the
young.
cardboard? Did you bust out the cardboard and
No.
parquet?
So I was an uprocker. I'd be on my feet. I was more like
Oh,
a
okay,
turbo type of dude, right?
got it.
But the interesting thing is, I dressed like the cats did in the movie Breakin' before Breakin' came out. Before we ever saw, I
Shabba-do.
always had a little punk rock. Shabba was my dude. I knew him when I
Mm,
moved here,
mm,
and me and
I
my
met him
producer, my
many
writing,
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I met him.
mm.
He used to be here in my office all the time. Like we'd be talking
I
about doing
love
this
that
project
cat,
with him.
man. He was one of the
Yeah,
nicest dudes.
Really
I
love
met
Chef.
was.
him doing one of the Steve Harvey shows.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
really? I talked to him
There was
hmm
a
about writing
dance
his one
scene.
man show.
hmm
Shabba
And
Quinones.
so
Yeah.
So we would go down there and break dance all the time. Now there was a place called the Varsity. The Varsity was like an old music movie theater that would always every Friday night they would show the Rocky Horror Picture Show and Dance Craze, which is a big, you know, movie about the two tone, like the specials and madness and all that stuff like that.
Hmm.
And it was like
Hmm.
a concert. So every weekend when we would come back, we'd have to walk through this crowd of punk skins, rude boys, mods, like everybody was in this one place every Saturday night. One day we were walking through there and I had to pee. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go in here right quick and go pee. Well, the way it used to work back then, for those of us who are at a certain age, when you live on the black side, the bus stops running at a certain time. So literally, I had to go inside, run to the bus before, otherwise the bus stops. And I don't want to call dad at 12 o'clock talking about come get me. He ain't gonna like that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what ended up happening. I was waiting in line and waiting in line, and my homeboys left. I had no money. My homeboy who kept all the money had the money. He usually give it to us once we got on the bus. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm standing there. I come outside. My homeboys left me, and I'm like, oh my god, like what am I going to do? And I'm looking around at all these weirdos, they would say, right? All my homeboys would laugh at them when we walk by. I was always staring at them, going, that is dope. Look at his hair. What are those black Doc Martin boots? That was me. You know what I mean? And there was always these two rude boy black guys that were suited up, 60s style, pork pie hat. They looked fresh as hell to me. Every time I'd see them, I'd just be like, who are these two? And who's the people who spoke to me? One of them.
Those
Like,
cats.
you
Yeah,
okay?
man.
You good? We speak to each other. They
Yep.
saw me standing there, not sure what the hell I was going to do. And next thing you know, they start talking to me. And then I
Mm.
said something ignorant, which was, what you doing out here with all these white people? Because I didn't know any better. And they said, all these white people are in everything that's black. So let me give you some game. And they start schooling me on the influence of black music, black style, all that. He's like, you see the skinheads? That's a style from black guys. You see the mods? That's a style from black guys. You see this? That's a style
Mm.
from black guys. Let me show you why. And they just started, and
Wow.
I was just like,
Wow.
well, they ended up walking me all the way home, giving me game. This was
Wow.
probably around the beginning of the summer of '84, and by the end of the summer, I was fully in. I stopped hanging out with my boys. I was with them. Had a suit. By the end of the summer, I had a scooter. I was that
Your
dude.
Doc Martens, you rolling.
Oh yeah, still got them. Still got 6 scooters
I
in my
got a
garage. I
pair.
rode. You know what I'm saying? I rode one yesterday. You know what I mean? For sure,
Wow.
I'm that dude. Yeah,
Quadrophenia. Quadrophenia. You've seen that
definitely.
movie, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, we used to
Yeah.
watch it almost every weekend. So they would show Dance Craze or Quadrophenia. They would switch them back. I've seen it hundreds of times. I'm not exaggerating. Yeah, for
I
sure.
So
don't know. Quadrophenia is a movie about the mods and the Rude Boy
Correct.
kind of movement with Sting is in it, and
Correct. His first movie.
it's an amazing
Yeah.
film. It's an
Yeah.
amazing film. It's very
I haven't seen
cultural.
it. I'll have to
Cultural.
see it.
Hmm.
Indeed.
So how did you first I want to ask you, how did that then get you into writing or into the entertainment business? But I want to step back. So don't forget that. I want to step back to something you
Yep.
said. When you
Okay.
said
What I say
you
now?
okay, now when you said I said something really ignorant to them about why are you around
Uh-huh.
all these white people. And I just want to say that so many times we say things that we think are out of the box, or if we
hmm
don't say it, it's not going to lead us to the journey we're supposed to be on.
Right. Right.
So in that, you needed to be schooled. That was an
hmm
uninformed comment that you
Correct.
made. And because of who they were, they didn't just go, "Pfft." They talked to you, they schooled you,
hmm
they changed your life and elevated, it sounds like, where
Right.
you were in your life. So that
hmm
was I know that was fun to say, but I just want to really put that out to everyone who thinks, oh, maybe I shouldn't say anything. It's like, I'm going to circle back
Hmm.
to how I walked up to you at the theater. He saw me
Right.
coming. I walked up. Thank God I looked cute that night. And I walked up and just was like, I just want to tell you. And sometimes that's what we need to do so we can go
Hmm.
to the next
Right.
level or just open up to a new friend.
Oh, that reminds me of something. You'd asked me about the cool nerd thing. So
Yes.
imagine this. All my homeboys look like gang members, pretty much. I was looking like somebody out of the movie Breaking, right? Not kidding. So it was, I kind of almost blended into those cats a little bit, right?
Uh-huh.
A little bit. I was close, but not quite,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So
mm.
here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing. So I always have had a sense of style. I can dress, right? So here's the funny thing is imagine a kid in a full 60s sharkskin suit, pork pie hat, going to school every day, right? You to wear those clothes
Wow.
around all these thugs, you had to be a tough, excuse my phrase, motherfucker back then,
Yeah,
right?
straight.
I had eyeliner on and freaking black fingernails like I was a dope dude. So
Wow,
You
that's
that's
leaned
why
into it.
I felt like a cool nerd. I
Mm,
felt cool. You have to
mm,
be cool. When I'm on my
mm.
scooter riding around, I got my dude on the back, or girls at the time when I was dating girls. Shut up, Phil. And so, shut up. And I had to be a cool dude in order to do that. So to me, you could see that I'm a nerd into a bunch of crazy eclectic things, and I love, I love history and I love the '60s and all that. But I'm a cool cat in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So
Hey
that's how I see
man,
myself.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Nerds unite, and I think nerds rule the world really,
there you go. That part.
because there is no spoon. There's no box.
Right,
So
right.
those are the really genuinely genius motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
The guys that created South Park, they said that. They said they were the
Yeah,
nerds of their school,
right.
and here they've created this multi-million, maybe billion-dollar industry
Thank
based
you.
just off of their nerddom. And
Hmm.
man, I'm a card carrying one. I have 20,000 comic books. I'm that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm a nerd when it comes to cars. I'm a nerd when it comes to the work of an actor. So
hmm,
those things are superpowers to me. They're not
right,
hindrances or
right,
detriments in any way. So good
right.
for you, brother.
So how I ended up, so when I was hanging around my homeboys, so I met these cats. I started hanging around them more. Every blue moon, I'd pop in and go with them. Well, there's something about the bathroom. This is a tie-in again. When you're when you're young and you don't have any money in your pocket, you can't just go into Burger King and get something to eat when they see you all the time, or to go to the bathroom. Eventually, they start going, "You can't come in here unless you have, unless you buy
Hmm.
something." So I would sneak and go to the children's theater, which is a block or two away, and I would sneak in. Well, one day they were having auditions, and I always could kind of sing. And I definitely could dance. So I walk in, and she's like, "Oh, you're here to audition?" I was like,
How
"For
old are
what?"
you?
She's like,
How old are you?
I was 12, so this is even
Okay.
before then.
Hmm.
So, but this is what got me going. This is what saved my life because all those people who used to break dance with me were all dead or all in prison, every one of them. Right? Had I not have made this right turn
Right,
to
right, right.
theater and to hanging out with my homeboys, I mean with my rude boys. So I go in to the audition and I went to go pee and she's like, "What are you here to audition?" I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "Oh, you got to sing a song or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, that's it? We're out doing routines. How hard can this be?"
Let's go.
You know what I mean? So I said yes. So I go on the stage and there's, 30 other kids and they show this little cheesy little routine. And I was like, "That's it? I'm adding spins." You know how black people are. I'm doing fame and didn't even know I was doing
Ah!
fame. You know what I mean? I could already do a pirouette at the time. I didn't even know what a pirouette was.
All
I
right.
Mm,
just could do it because when you understand your body and you dance all the
Mm.
time, it becomes like mimicking certain things. I learned later
mm,
on what it was, but I didn't have the right technique. I had to develop that. But I could do it. To the naked eye, it looked great. To a trained dancer, they'd be like, "Oh, no,
You didn't
no, you
spot
got to go
up. You
forward.
didn't. Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
didn't do
Your,
anything
your
right." You know what I'm
spine's not
saying?
straight. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But when I saw somebody do it, I could just copy it. Anyway, of course, I got one of the roles in the show, and they put me right in the middle in the front because I was the one with all the energy. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that really saved me. And I would just hang out with
Mm.
my homeboys from time to time. And then eventually, 2 years later, when I was 14, that night happened. I met the Rude Boys, and my life changed. You know,
Wow.
yeah. And crack came into the neighborhood, and then they really went to the other way, and I was
Right.
too busy.
Right.
And I was literally doing theater 9 months a year. I was
Mm.
in back to back to back to back shows from
Let
12 to about 18 or 19. Yeah,
let that be a lesson to you youngsters.
yeah.
You want
Mm-hmm.
to stay off of drugs?
Mm-hmm.
Be busy.
Be busy. That's
Be
right.
Facts.
busy.
And it was like,
Find some passion. Find some
Yeah.
vocation. Find some interest. Don't be doing that because that's your interest. Don't be doing that because that's how you want to spend your free time. Find some constructive stuff. All
mm-hmm.
you kids
Right.
out there.
And all you parents, make sure you help them find all that constructive
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
so they can
absolutely.
go. That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful. So you start
But
there, so you're doing all that and you're grooving, and then what takes you to the next step?
Eventually, I moved to San Francisco to really start acting, if you will. I got an agent there, and really started. I probably was doing by like from 1990 to about 96. I probably had 15 or 20 national commercials at the time.
mm, mm,
I was
Wow.
mm.
killing it. I was killing them. And I started getting a lot of, I've been on tour with rappers and singers and stuff, videos with Hammer. Like I was in some of the big ones, like I was busy back then. I was in
Nice.
a big dance troupe, you know what I mean? We traveled all over, you know what I mean? I literally have experienced what it's like to be in the studio with some rapper and they're smoking weed and all that stuff, and you're on tour and they're sleeping with girls and girls are knocking on your door because they can't get to them. Like I've experienced all that. You know what I mean?
Right,
And
right, right.
even though I'm a gay dude, which is funny, whole nother story. Shut up, Phil. Uh,
He knows my
um,
question.
oh, go ahead. You can ask me anything. I'm an open
No,
book.
no, I want to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. And so I moved to the city to do theater. That's how I know like Sheldon, and all those people like that.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
yeah, because I was doing every single the Oakland Ensemble, the Black Rep, all the big theaters up there, ACT,
Yeah,
anything that came
yeah.
up, that was going on. I was at least trying to get a role if I didn't. And there was I was a real trained actor at the time too. So it was I remember going up against a lot of people that I see today that are still doing it that I used to get the part and they didn't.
Right,
You know,
right.
And
But
I'm
you
not
made a
going to name
switch though
anybody,
from
but yeah,
no, no, please
yeah,
don't do that, not here, because we might have him
yeah,
on, and then be like,
yeah, 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 for sure.
we're hearing Hilliard, and he didn't say such nice
Put them
things
up,
about
put
us.
them up.
Here, put him up. Meet me in the garage. I'm ready to go. I don't know what to
Exactly.
tell you.
Hey, I'm from
I
I'm
don't.
from EPA. We can go.
I don't know. Okay, okay, we'll see.
I like it.
Anyway,
I'm
I
teasing.
wondered
I'm
about the
teasing.
transition then to
Yeah,
being more of a behind the scenes pushing the agenda as opposed to being in
sure.
front of the scenes and being the agenda in a way. You know what I mean? How did that happen? Did it happen? Are you still acting, or is it really the producing and writing that's taking center stage? Obviously.
Uh, I'm not acting anymore. I haven't acted in almost 20 years.
Mm.
Um, but I'm missing it now. Now, let me preface this, and you guys can relate to this. I think we talked about this
Probably. But
a little bit. That at the time, so I started writing in 2000, 2001, something like that. And what happened was I went to Utah with a Oscar-winning producer to be his assistant. It's a whole side story on how all that happened. It was one of those say yes situations, and
mm,
I did.
Mm.
And this Oscar-winning producer put me through the ringer. It was straight out of The Karate Kid, where it's like wax on, wax off. He's like, "Why am I washing this car?" So he put me every day. There was something I had to do, and
Or
he
was
was
it more like
teaching me.
swimming with sharks, or was it the Karate Kid?
Yeah, I always use The Karate Kid because eventually the things that he taught him, he thought made no sense. And why am I doing this? And then
And then it
years
came
later, you
together.
go,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, I can
Right. That's
block
why.
with this thing. Oh, I see. You know what I mean? So
Got it.
all that stuff ended up helping me. Um,
Mm.
so to this day, here's just an example. He was a logistics fiend. I'm a logistics fiend now. So when I'm producing, I'm like, wait a minute, how are we loading? How does this all make sense?
Mm.
Right? I can't help it. It's because that's what he taught me. Every day he was hammering in my head, pay attention to the details. Right?
Mhm.
So when you're on a set with me, it's pretty running pretty smoothly by the time we've gotten to action,
Right.
right? And now I no longer work as the line producer or the UPM, but I've done those things so that I can be the guy. When I'm producing a movie or even whatever, I'm always acting as if I'm kind of the quote unquote showrunner. I kind of taken that place so that I'm the third eye to the director that I'm working. This is in the indie world, by the way. This is how I try to work so that we always keep the vision of that director so that everything goes smoothly. And I tend to oversee and manage the UPM and the line producer and everybody else so that everything goes smoothly. You know what I mean? And that way
Got it.
everything's running great and we keep the vision that we all talked about. I'm there as that third eye to the director. You know what I mean?
Got
That's
it.
how I work the best. But I learned all that from all those years back, working with him. And he taught me this is what I do. I'm not just line producer. I'm actually standing here at Video Village for a reason. I'm
So you
watching
learn
what's
the
going
basics.
on.
You're like a great kung fu master who drills the basics, because without those basics, you really can't branch off and do anything special. You
Yeah,
think everybody thinks they're special. Everybody wants to be Bruce Lee, but you
yeah.
have to really, drill down on those things that give you a foundation, so that you
Well, it
have that foundation. You take that foundation everywhere you go.
well,
Mhm.
think about this, Phil. How many times have you spoken to an emerging writer or an actor and told them that, oh, and they told you something about their life in the past, and you're like, oh, you should use that. Like that's actually a superpower to yourself you didn't even realize
Mhm.
you had.
Yes.
Right.
That is what I've learned is those things I had to go there and work with him. And even when I came back, I still was an actor for 2 more years before I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be writing. So what happened was during that time, I think Anna, this is what we talked about,
Mhm.
was um, back in the day, it wasn't cool to be a hyphenate. You remember
Oh
this,
yeah.
Phil. You
Oh
had
yeah.
Yeah.
to be a writer, an actor, a
Make a
director.
choice.
There wasn't no hype. It wasn't no Lena Waithe doing seven things. You know what I mean? And everybody was doing one thing, and maybe there's one or two, usually white directors who could write and direct. Almost
Hmm.
everybody else was rarely doing the hype. So when I came out, all of my friends, my big actor, writer friends, they were like, oh, you can't do it. You got to focus on one thing. And I was like, well, I wrote the script and it went to one of the big competitions. I guess I'm going to write. It wasn't like I wanted to give up acting. I gave it up because I had no choice at the time. It was, you got to do this, and this is the best way. Don't walk in a room talking about you acting, you writing, you directing, all that. They didn't want to hear that back then.
Mhm.
So I
Hmm.
had to go, oh, wow. Well, which one is moving me? I was like, well, my heart is in this writing thing. I know I'm really good at this. You know, this is a gift I have. I'm good at this. So I
Right. Right.
stayed in that way. And what I feel is, and you guys know this as being writers yourselves, when you actually write because you're an actor, you can get up on your feet and
Mm.
move around and do the dialogue. You could hear it. You could play the
Hmm.
characters a little bit and give it a little nuance and things that a normal writer wouldn't hear. Because you played it. They're like, how did you get this dialogue so spiffy like this? I was like, because I played both of them. You know what I mean? I heard it. It's a rhythm. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Whatever. So there's little things like that that started happening for me where I was like, yeah, I got to stay on this path. And that's why the path went that I just focused on being a writer. The producing part came, and I'll tell you that in a moment, how that came about. But yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think it's a twofer. I think it's not a twofer, but I think it cuts both ways. One is
Mhm.
that the Lenas of the world, the Issa Raes of the world,
Mhm. All my
rare,
friends, love them, love them, love them.
rare,
Yep, yep,
rare
Mhm.
geniuses. It's
yep,
difficult to walk and chew gum at the same time. It just
yep.
is. That's why few do it, or if you do it well. But there's still resistance to you being talent in front of the camera, and then, being a generating force of the creative material.
Right.
I just did Fire Country for CBS,
Okay.
and Max Therio, who's the lead, created the
Hmm.
show.
Right.
He was in another show for CBS, and so he had the ear of the network. So when he went in to pitch the show, they were
Hmm.
listening to him, but he was also starring on this other show for them. And they said,
Right.
well, look, you're not a writer. You're not a sanctioned writer, and we can't really go with you on that. It's a big ask. And he says, well, I wrote this. I wrote this. Nobody else wrote
Hmm.
it. You like it? I wrote it.
Right.
So he got another big kind of production company behind him, and then they said yes. But
Hmm.
even he, who was starring in a CBS show, and he's not African American, he's homogenous,
Right. Hmm.
they resisted it. And it's for what you're saying. They want to see you in a certain lane. They
Yeah.
want to know, okay, this is what, and who they are. And are we going to spend the money on this person? Money talks in this business. If we're going to spend the
Yes.
money on this person, we know they're a talent in front of the camera. We have no idea whether or not they can bring it, in terms of,
Right.
bringing a show in on time, on budget, all those things that you now know you can do.
Hmm.
It cuts both ways still. There's still some
Right.
resistance to that.
Right. For sure. For sure. It's just an interesting time we live in where, I mean, I don't have any regret about it, in the because, so here's what happened. This is just a jump. By 2007, 2008, we had the strike, as you guys know, the first strike that really crushed LA and Hollywood, the world. I remember I was walking in Paramount almost every day with my friends, and I just written this pilot and had this little sequence where there was a like a therapist doctor type, very the move. Remember the series and treatment? It was very in that
Yes.
style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before in treatment even came out, but there was a doctor and like a hip hop rapper, like it stuck in a train in the middle of a tunnel, and it was this little sequence that was in this full pilot that I wrote. And one of my producing friends had read it, and we were walking around as we were picking, and he goes, "Hey, I read your script, dude. It's amazing." He was like, "You ever thought about making that little segment into like a little short or something?" I'm like, "No. Like, why would I do that?" Like something I always do. I always say no first, and then something will happen that'll force me to change my thought.
Mm.
So we're out there a few months later, and literally, I'm out there picketing, we're yelling, whatever, during that time. And I look up at the sky, I swear to God, straight out of a movie, and it was like, be your own boss. Fuck Hollywood.
Mm.
Stop waiting for Hollywood to hire you, hire yourself. Literally. And I was like, huh. I came home, and I pulled up, and my neighbor pulled up. My neighbor is a big location manager for like big movies. And I was talking to her and I told her what happened. She's like, "Oh, I have tickets to the line producers. I'm sorry, the location managers expo. I never even heard of it." And I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "Go." So I called my friend who's a producer. I was like, "Hey, you want to go with me on Saturday to this thing?" We go. We're looking around. I was like, "Where am I going to find it? All a subway train?" I'm thinking it's going to cost me $50,000, right? I start going around to all the different booths. Everybody's like, "Oh, you can have it for 10,000. Oh, you can have it for 15,000. Oh, 8,000, whatever it was." And I was like, "Oh." And we're on our way out the door, and in the corner, I see the metro. Somehow we kept walking right by this damn metro. And I said, "Oh, I got the sun on my eyes." So I
That's
said,
nice.
"Was it? Was
It
it
looks
pretty
good
pretty?"
from
Yeah,
here.
it's moody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there it
check it
is.
out.
There it is. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody. So I said, so I walk over. This is my producer hat, what I learned with my dude a few years back. And I walk over and I go, "Hey, listen, here's what I need. I'm trying to do this project." And I just start selling. And I'm like, "I need it for 2 days. I want it on a weekend. Here's the caveat. I have $1,000. I says, but I need you to help me with this. I promise you it'll be worth it." And it was a brother, by the way. And he looked at me. He did one of them, Phil. He went, like, "Is anybody looking?"
Is
Right?
anybody
And he
listening?
said, and he went, "For you, brother, we're going to make this happen." I said,
Wow.
boom. Now, wait for this, though. So I tell writers to this day, it is your job to go home and write them an email going, "Hey, Phil, remember that conversation we had? Here's what we said. You're gonna let me have it for 2 days. I'm gonna get it for $1,000. I'm gonna bring my driver to, you know what I mean? Bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately. Do you agree to this? And I said, you see what I'm saying? And then they respond, that is your agreement, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got my first project done. 8 months later, critically acclaimed.
I love
Wild.
You know what I
that.
mean? Yeah,
I
Wow.
love that you were bold enough to ask, to state
yeah,
what you needed, and then to
right,
follow through. It takes
right.
us back to what you were saying, Phil, at the beginning about the follow through, the finish, getting to the finish
Completion.
line. And you can
Completion
only
is
get to,
massive.
right, and you can only get there on your own, no matter who's with you. Isn't that
Yeah,
right?
true,
Hmm.
Well,
true.
even in its developmental stages. Now, what Hilliard has just mentioned is very specific. I need this, I need this. He's checking boxes, bullet points. But even if you're in a room with somebody who has influence, let's say, who has resources, a
Hmm.
deep reach, right? Which I
Right.
was. I was in a room with this company. It's a great company. They're big, and we were just talking. I'd met them somewhere on the casual, and I'm like, can I sit down with you guys? Listen, this is very important because this is a lesson for me always. I said, can we
Hmm.
just sit down at some point? So they were like, sure, man, we love you. Come and sit and hang out. So I went to their offices and sat, and we talked about stuff, just chopped it up, what I was doing, what they were doing, what I was doing. Literally a week later, I have this experience, and I'm like, wait a minute, this conversation I just had, maybe this can fit the conversation. So
Hmm.
I immediately get on the line with this person I had the conversation with. I said, I think I got something based on our conversation. And they're
Right.
like, well, come on in. When you're done, come on in. I went in that I didn't even have anything written up. I had nothing. I just had this idea based on the conversation that we'd had. And they were
Hmm.
asking me, well, do you have something written up? I said, no, I wanted to strike while the iron was hot. We had this
Mm-hmm.
conversation a few weeks ago. I didn't want it to languish. I didn't want to wait for a month for me to write material. And then, hey, remember, no, I wanted you to know now what I'm thinking. They were like, well, write something up.
Hmm.
Long ass story short, that's the script I just finished. Okay,
Right.
so I wrote up the synopsis, the characters, the season arc, the everything. I went back. They were like, "We love this," and I started writing the script. And I'm gonna make this show, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's with this production company or it is
Hmm.
not,
I
because
love
it's
it.
exactly what you're saying, Hilliard. You have to act. You have to move. You have to answer the call that's in you and that the universe is assisting you with, even if it isn't obvious to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it usually isn't. Usually it's not. It's very conceptual, and you have to make
But
it quantitative.
you said something interesting, Phil, at the beginning. Most people don't finish the thing. Most people start the thing and they don't finish it. Here's what I learned. They're scared of it not being perfect.
That's right. That's right.
They're
That's
Right,
scared of it not
right.
being perfect.
right.
And especially those of us who've been in the industry for a long time. So let's just say you're going from being an actor to being a writer. You know what's good writing. You've worked on all those top shows. You know what's good. So in your head, you're going, am I possibly as good as what Larry David did? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like you're
Mm-hmm.
going to be in your head that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something to getting to fade out. There's something to getting to the end where your brain is like, okay, I know this isn't perfect, but it says fade out. It's my turn, it's my time to treat myself for that. And the most important thing is you tell your brain, I could do this again because I just did it.
Mm.
That's what I
Mm-hmm.
preach on my show.
Mm-hmm.
Finish the thing because it'll teach you that you could do it again, right? Because if you
Yep.
don't, you're gonna constantly be going, well, how many dudes do you know? I don't know who you're like, or guys and girls who you're like, oh, I'm still working on that thing.
Oh,
I don't like people like that. I want you to finish the thing you're talking about.
yes.
I'm a
They were
5 years,
shocked
finisher.
10 years.
when I came
Yes.
Yes.
in the next week. When I came in,
Right.
like when I got back from Vancouver, which is where I was, and I came into the
Hmm.
office, and I had seen these dudes, the same dudes, the financial guys were there, the whole thing. And I sat down. I said, "You remember what you said to me about writing it down?" And they were like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's what this is." And they were just
That part.
blown away that I came in and actually did the thing that
Hmm.
we had talked about doing. And
Right.
so, yeah, and the phrase, "Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good."
Hmm.
Oh,
But
yeah,
see,
that's so.
most okay. Go ahead.
And what is perfect? I mean, come
Yeah.
on, really, what is perfect? That is subjective. And if the first one doesn't work, guess what? You learn something from that which you just did. You showed
Hmm.
yourself you can do it, and you can only get better from there. And you never know. Um, oh God, the group who sang "Up, Up and Away," am I beautiful? No,
Hmm.
um,
Fifth Dimension.
Fifth Dimension.
Fifth Dimension, yes.
So the Fifth Dimension, when they first got together, they do this album. They just love singing. They come together, they do an album. It's a friggin' hit. They get together again to do a second album. They've got plans. Goes nowhere. What they learned was the energy of just being vulnerable, putting it out there, not thinking about, is it going to be a hit? Is it going to
Right.
be perfect? Is it just doing it for the love of it? For them, they created magic. When they got into their
Huge.
heads, it was not the
Not so
same.
much.
Not the same.
Not so much.
So
Yeah.
that's what I think that's where the creative thing is. You get out of your head and you do it. And you never know what you have.
But I mean, within that, you have to know the rules.
Oh,
Like I said,
absolutely. Absolutely.
can I do a pirouette? Yes. But there's a difference between doing it right and just doing it, right? See, everybody's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I don't watch that show because if I do, it's gonna impression on me this way. Oh, I don't want to read that script because if I do, I'm gonna see what they did." Instead of going, "Let me see what they did. Oh, okay, I see what they did. Yeah, I can go to the left a little bit, but I do
Hmm.
like how they did that. I
Right.
can I
Hmm.
can expunge off of that idea that they didn't really focus on. Like that gave me an idea. And there's something to knowing what somebody has done. So not it's not only so you don't do it again, but it's so you can do it better. See, you're in your mind, you're going, "Oh, I'm doing this so much better. I heard there's a show about this. Oh, they're not going to do what I do." And damn it, you watch a show and it's every freaking beat you talked about because we're all thinking the same way. There's nothing original anymore. It's very hard to be original. You could try all day. More than likely, somebody's done it, seen it, heard it some way, some
Hmm.
fashion. They might
Hmm.
not have did it in America. They probably did it in Sweden. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
it's
Right.
it's
Right.
it's
Right.
hard to be original for sure.
I just had it
To
happen to
talk to me.
me.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead,
just had
sweetie.
it happen to me with something in the show. I gave a direction to this actress of what we're doing with Fannie Lou Hamer and how we're doing it. And boy, the writer
Mm.
was like, "Oh my God, that's so fantastic." I thought it was so original. We're just killing it. We're all emotional. It's beautiful. And at the end of rehearsal, she says, "This is so good. Have you seen this certain documentary about Fannie?" And I go, "No." She goes, "Well, they're kind of doing the same thing." And I went, "Oh, shit. I thought it was so original." She said, "Well, you've got some tweaks that are different." And I just sat
Right.
there and laughed and I said, there's so, even if I don't see it, it's all up there in the universe for
Hmm.
us to
I think it's.
grab.
I think it's. I think it's a verification actually more than anything else.
That's what I think.
Because
I
like
like
Hilliard
that.
says, is there not. There's no real original ideas. The originality is you. You're the
Yeah.
original one.
Hmm.
Point
So
of view.
your voice is the original one. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one else can be your voice. So how you
Right.
see these things, how you process these things, is really all there is. And the value in understanding other things that have come before you come twofold. One is you learn because there
Right.
are those who just know more than we do.
Hmm.
They're just
Well, it
filmmakers
goes.
who are better craftspeople than you are at
It,
that
it
point.
goes.
So, and then
I
the other
apologize.
thing
Go ahead.
though, no, no, not at all, not at all. And the other thing is y- y- we have to jump from the truth, and everybody
Hmm.
has their own individual truths. I
Right.
want to know what yours is. I want to see how it compares to mine. I have written things in this particular project I made up in my soul. I'm reading history and it's actually factual.
Yeah.
So I want to know that what's in my soul, the universe corroborates. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's
Hundred
very
percent.
empowering to me. I don't feel alone then in my ideas and my
Right.
thoughts.
Right. I think there's something to like a lot of writers I'll talk to. And I don't know this knows this that like when I do my podcast, I usually have three or four writers sitting here watching us. Probably, let's say for every four, I have every two, I'll have some writers watching, and I'll talk to writers. So many of them are like, "Oh, I watched this show," and I'm like, "Did you read the script? How are you gonna get that voice and you don't even see how they did it?" You know what I mean? Like you can't,
Mm-hmm.
don't come to me. This is just my thing, by the way. Don't come to me going, "Oh, I'm writing this cool crime thriller. I watched all these movies. I think I got it." If you haven't read any of those scripts to see how they executed it on the page. How did they
That's
open it?
great.
How do they use
That's
action? How do
great.
they do transitions? How do they, you know what I mean? If you don't see it, you won't be able to do it. You're going to be very mediocre on the page. You know what I mean? Which is what you
Right.
don't want to do.
Interesting.
So just had to say that.
Explain that. Why is that important?
So here's an example. I was telling my writing producing partner, who you know, Iona Pamela Hasme Andrew.
Oh,
Shout out to
yes.
her. I know she's
Hey,
probably tuning
Pamela.
into this
She
right
says hey
now.
to you too, Phil.
Hey,
Hey,
hey.
shout out to her and Bruce. She's in New York right now, working on some cool stuff.
She says
Super
she's
proud of
watching.
them. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So what was the question? I lost my thought. I apologize.
No, that's okay. You talked about in order to execute a script, you say, I've written all these crime dramas, I've seen all this
Yeah.
television, all these films. You
Have you
need to
read it
read this
or not?
script. That's what's
Uh-huh.
important. So you can see how they executed it. And I asked you, why is that important? What does that help you
Um,
do?
so here's an example. Uh, Say you wrote a script 3 years ago. Who you are every time you pull up your pen and paper or your computer is a different person than who you are now.
Hmm.
So I was telling Pamela earlier today, I was telling her earlier today, I've probably written close to 50 something projects.
Whew.
And I literally pulled up something that I wrote 2006, I think it was. I'd forgotten about the script. I don't even remember it. When I wrote it, I thought it was the dopest thing I ever wrote, as you do when you're young. I literally pulled it up to yesterday. This was yesterday. And I started reading the first 30 pages, and I was like, boy, this thing still has legs. This cool little crime thriller. It's got all
Hmm.
this action in it, whatever, but it's dated. So I went, I could probably update this, and it still might, I didn't have to throw this away. I actually could
Hmm.
use this now. This is a
Hmm.
great role for a dope ass actor in their 40s. This is and then a female character who does this, you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I could pull this out. So when it comes to what's on that page, the more you see and read scripts, the more you learn. And you're able to take a little bit of, oh, I just read Phil's script the other day. He had this cool way, the way he described characters. And the tone was like this. I'm writing a script that feels like that.
Hmm.
I could probably use that style. You're missing it. You just watched the movie or the TV show. Now you're not
Right.
seeing how he got that. We, as writers, and you guys, whether you're writing novels or anything, you're studying from the greats. You're taking what, Maya Angelou wrote and
Hmm.
putting it into, and going, oh, her voice is like this. I could take a little bit of that and just go a little to the right because I write more like that. But if I colored it with her beautiful poetry, it would feel in a different way.
Right.
But you
Right.
have to read it
It's
to see it.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see what I mean?
Yes.
So if you read any of my scripts, and I've written a lot of them, you will see something that's I tend to think very dark, by the way. It's just where I go. I don't know if it's where I'm from or whatever, but I'll write something today that's really dark, and then the next thing will be dark, but completely over here because now I'm going, oh, I read this Billy Ray script and I like how he did this. I'm going to try to write a
mm,
script that feels like that. You see what I mean? Because I saw it.
Mm.
I have it in my head. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's why, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, it's the same reverse of studying what they did so that you can learn from it. So you can go, oh my God, I don't know how to get out of this transition. Oh, when when Craig Mazin did it on The Last of Us, he did this.
right. Right.
Oh,
Brilliant.
I can get out of this. You see what I'm saying? That's for me. That's how I use it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I've read so many scripts. I've been around for so long.
yeah, for sure.
Where I am now is in trying to appeal to myself, brothers. I think I used to write based
Maybe
on
you.
my ego.
I'm sorry, you fell out just a
Hmm.
little bit. Where you are now, would you repeat that, sweetie? It was just like a little what?
I try to write for myself
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to write for others. Like I'm writing to sell this
Okay.
thing. I don't think
Right.
about that. I think only about
Right.
what it's telling me, who is speaking to me, how I would respond if I was in that situation, or how this character would respond, and try and be
Hmm.
as authentic as possible for me. And I think before
Right.
I was an ego writer, quite honestly, characters were super cool. The women were unbelievably beautiful. Everything was kind of the world that I wanted it to be, as opposed to
Right.
the world that exists.
Hmm.
And reading helped me with that. Just reading, whether it was scripts or novels or biographies, and people right now, they're not really reading much. They're not taking much in the written word, and it
Right.
limits your resources as a creator, as a creative person. It certainly would have limited my resources as a writer, and so I honor what you're saying. In reading scripts is no different than reading a novel or reading an autobiography. It's just a different contextual way of reading anything. So
Put it put
I'm
it this way,
fascinated
Phil.
by what you're saying.
Put it this way. Every writer that I know who's a really dope writer, whether it's Lena, whether it's Charles Murray, Ben Watkins, any of these dudes, everybody is avid readers. Avid readers.
And it would have
Avid.
to be. They would have to
And
be.
I'm so this is what I'm telling writers. So one of my mentors, who you both know, when I first started writing and I told him I was done acting at the time, he said, I need you to make sure you read at least one script a day for at least 2 years.
Mm.
Like you have got to catch up to where I'm at.
Mm.
You feel me? Well,
Hmm.
don't tell me that. See, something I didn't get to was I didn't, I didn't get my, I got my GED, right? I didn't graduate with my class. And I just learned this last year from Pamela, by the way, Iona. I thought that I didn't have a high school diploma. I thought I was less than
Oh.
for
Mhm.
all these years until last year. Oh, you're gonna
Wow.
make me cry thinking about this.
Wow.
Wow.
And Pamela basically said, Hilliard, you know you have your because I always say, well, I didn't graduate. She's like, you know you graduated, bitch, you just didn't walk. And I'm like, oh,
She's right.
it's you know what I mean? And but I
Yeah.
but I'm glad I just known it now. Because had I had known that, I wouldn't push as strong. So my
Mm.
mentor at the time told me read a script a day. Well, bitch, I read a two, sometimes three. And I started with the top 100 scripts that are on that list. That's all of them. Kramer versus Kramer, everything that's on
Is that
that
an
list.
AFI
Jaws.
list? What list is that?
I don't remember what it was. I have it somewhere, the
I know this
original one.
list.
But
I know
Send
this
it
everybody
to
list.
has
us, would you?
their top 100.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their
Mm.
top 100. You can find them everywhere now. But
Right on.
at the time, there was a top 100 list, and like I said, it had, of course, it had West Side Story.
Godfather.
It had Godfather, of course, Godfather Part Two. The Exorcist, like everything. I read them all, and what I learned was just starting with those was that the writing level in it got you. See, most people are like, "Oh, I'm a comedy writer. I only want to read." Insecure. I only want to read a Blackish or whatever. I'm like, no, 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 no. You're missing the point. You are more than just that. All of us are more than just that. You're
Mm-hmm.
not just a comedy writer. And if you are, you have to be a comedy writer who writes stories about what? About
Life.
who?
Real life
Mm-hmm.
people.
And right? So
Hmm.
you got to find that reason for yourself. We all meet so many writers who are like, oh, I'm a writer, I do dramas, I'm like, bitch, about who? Right? About what? Right? Meaning, from what point of view moves you?
Right. Right.
So that when you come in to pitch to me or Phil and Iona, you're able to tell us who you are as a writer. And I go, oh, Phil, bro, we got this story, it'd be really good for Iona. Remember she told us that story about when she was young, how she did that thing? We need somebody who knows that voice. You see what I mean? Don't just say I
Hmm.
write comedies. Don't just say I write dramas. Say I write these stories that move me in this way. So I told you this whole thing. This is just my point of view, by the way. I told you this whole thing about growing up in this neighborhood, being this underdog, being this little cool nerd and all that. Those are the stories I write. Every script
Mm-hmm.
I've ever written from some point of view is some underdog in there somewhere. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's where I go. When I go into pitch, I'm
That's
talking
what you
about
know.
why this character moves me. because I just told you about being this weird little kid in my neighborhood who drove around on these vintage scooters, which you see behind me. That's me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
On the cover of the LA Times. You know what I mean? And and
Super good.
and why that character moves me. Because I'm him. Maybe
Mm.
not in the world, but I understand him or her.
That's exactly
You
what
see what I
I'm
mean?
You're
writing.
pulling
It's
from
the
your
extension of
life.
me. You have
Yes.
to,
Right.
in some way. It
You're
has to be an
pulling from
alter
your
ego
life.
or a part of you. What are you giving? Really,
Right.
honestly, what are you giving honestly if it isn't of you?
Right.
So, we could do this for a good hour
Oh
more.
my
I don't
gosh,
know.
this was so
I'm
wonderful.
good. I'm in no rush. Whatever you guys want to do. So
This is
Well, I
wonderful.
am.
you ain't got nothing to do.
That's the
He ain't got no
difference.
job. He ain't
No,
doing
no,
nothing.
I ain't got
He,
nothing. I just
Let
hanging
he
me
out.
tell
going to
you,
the
You
car
know.
show.
Hilliard, you're so fabulous to have, but I do want to share some important things with people. I want to tell them about the Screenwriters Rant Room.
Thank
This
you.
is such a wonderful podcast that he has. As you see, I've got up there screenwritersrantroom.com. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Raphonic.com, TuneIn.com. Listen to it. You can listen to it in your car. It is just so wonderful. And he's also doing something with the WGAW, with the Writers Guild, which has
Hmm.
been around for a long time, Third and Fairfax. A really wonderful podcast as well, and not just for writers but creatives, directors. You
Yeah.
don't have to be a screenwriter, right, Hilliard?
Hmm.
It's wonderful.
It's mainly writers that are interviewed on
Mm-hmm.
their show. My show, I interview everybody who's dope. You know,
Awesome.
you can
Everyone
if
who's
you're
dope.
dope, you want me to talk to.
I
Yeah, I
love
talk
it.
to emerging writers. I last thing I figured out on my show, I counted 13 or 14 writers today. Remember, I told you I have writers sitting watching, who are now showrunners or co-EP level writers. You know,
Mm.
so I
Awesome.
love that. That tells you a lot. Yeah.
And I want to tell you too that when you see this young, handsome devil here, the top 100 indie writers
We
in
can't hear you. Say that again.
this dopeness, handsome young man. You
There you
see
go.
that
There you go.
in Indies Writers, and I wanted to show you he is on the cover of the book. And if you
So
want to
he's the
know
Yes,
top.
indeed.
right at the top, and if you want to know more about
You see
Hilliard,
me on my scooter? On my
that's
scooter too.
saw you
I
on your
got you.
scooter.
I got you.
Right?
Look, you got a
Yeah.
British flag
Yeah.
in front of you. You all about it.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
at Hilliard
The
Guess.
Union Jack is what that is. That's
Yes,
what that's
indeed. Yes,
called.
indeed.
Look at him. This
For
is where
sure.
you can find him. And wow, he's been so wonderful. All you've had to say. And Hilliard, we ask our guests. So we're about to wrap up. Oh, you have been fabulous. I
Okay.
knew you was gonna be fabulous. We ask all of our guests
Yeah.
to please leave us with some words of wisdom, inspiration for our people here. And not just one or two words, but really talk to us and share.
Here's what I would say. We're in a time now where, like I said, you can really truly be your own boss. Don't wait for Hollywood anymore. That's what I have to say. Hollywood's great when you're in it and things are working for you. It's a long way there, but I will say this: almost everybody I know who's even there still works in the indie world. They still are out there. All your passion projects that you want to do, Hollywood is not interested in. You know what I mean? They want to make the movie that can make money. You know, they want to make the TV show that is going to last for 5 or 6 seasons. Even today, even though they're doing 2 seasons now, well, they let all the black shows go again, didn't they? Jesus Christ! Don't get me
Mhm.
started on that. But you can be your own boss when you are the one who goes about, making those things happen. The only way to do that is to do a version of, like Phil was talking about. He went into like kind of soft pitch this project he had. I'm the type of person I would have went. I'm going to go in and tell them about this project, but I'm going to call my boy such and such on that other show I have who play my brother. I'm going to call this director who I know who'd be dope directing this thing and go, yo, if they like it, can I tell them that you're involved? So I go in with elements. That's something I learned from Pamela. You go in with elements, now they're like, oh, this bitch is a producer. He ain't just writing this thing. He's coming in with power. You see what I'm saying? So that would be the twist that I would do for you going forward, is to use the resources around you when you get those meetings, right? and put the package together, even if it's one or two people, just so they don't just see you as the guy who's going to star in it or the woman who's going to star in it, and you actually come with power. That's how I look at it, if that makes sense.
Mm, that does. That makes a lot of sense, Hilliard. We are so glad to have you
Thank you.
here.
Thank you for that.
And
For sure.
come visit us next year, would you?
Yeah, we got
I'm
to talk
glad.
cards and stuff
Anytime.
like that.
Anytime. We got to go rolling, Jack. Shit.
Hey, man. Shit, I'm hiding
What
in
you
plain
drive? What
sight.
you drive, Phil? What you drive right quick? What you drive?
I have an Audi R8 and a Porsche
Okay.
911
What year?
991.1.
What
The
year?
Audi's at 18 and the Porsche's at 2012.
Oh, you got no cars. I ain't talking to you. I ain't talking to you. I see what you're doing.
That's okay. That's
I'm
okay. I
teasing.
got plenty of friends. I got plenty of car friends, and they
He's
love
like,
my
I could
rides.
borrow one. I
Just,
could
I
borrow
got them
one.
for very specific reasons. They are very
I get
specific
it.
vehicles.
That's what's up. I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
Thanks for
I know.
coming
I
in,
know.
Thank
Hilliard.
you, Iona.
Have a
Thank you guys for
We
having
beautiful,
me.
love you,
beautiful
man. You were
evening. Love
great
to your
tonight.
husband. And
Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Such beautiful energy,
Thank you.
inspiration. Thank you, man.
We're going to
we'll
have you on
see
the
you
rant room,
soon.
too.
Ready to go. I'm ready to rant.
All right.
God dang, let's
All
do it.
right. We're going to get it in. All right. We're going to
Okay.
get it in for sure.
Good
Awesome.
night, sweetheart.
Thank
Be
you, guys.
well. Thank
Mm.
you.
Thank you all for
Ciao.
listening. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
absolutely. Ah ha ha. Wow. He was something else. He was wonderful. I love it. Hey baby, you got some
Mm.
words? You got something you want to say?
Yeah, I kind of said everything in a way. It's just I don't have anything special other than what we were just talking about and all the things that we're doing and completion. Get don't bullshit yourself. Just don't lie to yourself. Don't play yourself. You know what I mean? If you say you're going to start the gym, go to the gym. If you say you're going to start an exercise program, you want to diet, do it. If you say you want to write something or you want to do class or you want to get a better job, do it. You don't like this thing is so quick, man. We this is no playtime. This is real time. So be the best for you. Advocate for yourself. Find the best way for you to help you. Don't wait for anybody else. Like Hilliard says, I'm not waiting for Hollywood. I don't think I've been waiting for them for a while. And I'm definitely not waiting for them now. And I'm not waiting for anything to give me my joy, to fill me up, to be the me that I need to be. I'm not waiting for anybody to do that for me. I'm doing it. And that's what every Wednesday is about. Is us trying to figure out ways to do better and to make it more. And I want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to cheat myself of myself. So that's pretty much, look yourself in the mirror, man. Look at yourself. Are you doing the thing that you need to be doing? If you're not, that's your challenge. That's your charge right now. Do the thing you're supposed to be doing for yourself. For you, not just for your job. I'm going to leave you with this. I saw a little video the other day. It's real quick. A black man, about 50 years old, gets out of his truck. He's wearing a uniform. It's a work uniform. He's just coming from work. He walks in front of his truck and he starts sobbing, just uncontrollably crying. And what he's saying is he's working his life away. He's working his fucking life away. It was devastating to watch. This man feels like all he does is work. He has no life. He'd been working his whole life, and he felt like he could not see the end of it, and he was destroyed. It was heavy, man. It was heavy. It reminds me of what we do to ourselves in this country. It reminds me of why so many people are sick and diseased, because they're buying this bill of goods of, work. At the end of the day, it'll be yours. Don't worry about it. We got you. And at the end of the day, they're still doing it, and they got nothing. And I'm saying, don't be that person. Do I have empathy for that man? Yeah, but I would hug him. I'd say, man, let's go fish. Let's go take a ride. Let's go take a walk. Let's go have a soda. I mean, we're getting it wrong. We're working to death as opposed to life. And it really affected me. And I think that it's something that we all have to really consider going forward. And be strong for yourself. Be your own advocate. Anyway, I guess I did have some things to say.
Yeah, you always do, baby love. You always do. Wow. Um, wow, that is powerful. You know what I was thinking about, and it kind of goes with what you were just saying, Phil, about this man. What's your dream? What's your desire? What is your talent? So many times people look around. Look what Hilliard said. Look at where he ended up growing up when he was 7 or 8 in this community. They could have really taken him down. He could be dead. He could be in jail, but he saw a way through. He was himself. At that time, black guy wearing nail polish and those funky clothes to school, and he was doing him. He was doing him. And that's so important. So many times we try and we change for other people. You cannot know, and it doesn't matter what somebody else wants you to be like. You can't be like that. You can only be like you. So, what is it that interests you? What is it that you want to do? What is it you've always wanted to do? What are you doing now that you're, oh, I'm still working on the script? It's been 10 years in the making. Sit down and put the end on that script. Sit down and finish that project or that invention that you want to get a patent on. Just get it. It doesn't have to be perfect because guess what? If you had one idea, I promise you, you are going to have another idea. But that other idea can't come if you don't get that first one out your head, out your heart, out your spirit, and give it to the world. Someone doesn't like it, people reject it. You know what? Cry your little tears and then get your ass up and either make it better or seek and do the next one. Don't give up on you. Champion your dreams. Champion your desires. Champion what you want to do. Don't nothing happen overnight. But along the way, you meet people who fortify your dream, who build you up, who give you tasks that you wax on, wax off, as we talked about with Mr. Miyagi. You don't know why you're doing it, and then you find out you know why you're doing it. Be your champion. Be your best friend. Finish one thing so then you can begin another and finish that and begin another and watch what happens. We never know where we're supposed to go, but we can know what we're supposed to do just by doing it. So we're really glad that you guys came tonight. And you know you can find Phil right here. Let me bring you a little bit of something here. This is at the Fillmores. And you know you can find me here. And you know I own a lot of gold, and you can own a lot of gold. And here's where you can find the show, everybody. And we are so glad that you've been here with us today. And woof, we've gone a little long because Hilliard was full of so much. So thanks everyone for being here. Thank you, Instagram. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Facebook. Phil, you know I love you. Get to your family, baby. We're going to eat some dinner and have a great night.
I will. And everybody, next week, I may or may not be here. Siona's first hearing it. I have an appointment at a place called Willow Springs Wood Raceway to race cars. So I may be out there. And if I am out there, it's going to be impossible for me to get back in time. So I will let you know in time. But if I'm not here next week, no, I'm loving you guys, and I will be safe as possible.
Please
I'm be fast though. I'm be real fast. I'm gonna tell you
I
right now.
I
will be fast, man. You can't stop it, brother. I can't stop it.
And before we go, I want to mention something that it is the 3rd anniversary, you guys, and say a prayer, everyone, for what happened in Buffalo 3 years ago when the people were massacred. And today is that anniversary. So let's pray for everyone who's passed away way too soon, especially for mass shootings. Sending love and light. See you next week. I'll either see you next week, Phil, or talk to you in between.
No doubt. Love you all. Take care.
Bye. Ciao, Philly. See you later,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.